Yo, how's it going, guys? It's Richard Unicorn Caller here, and welcome to yet again another Life Healer build. I decided to take your comments into consideration and make a completely new build just from that. So, yeah, without further ado, let's jump right in. Now, this one is going to have the same gear pieces, or at least similar gear pieces from the previous builds. However, this is it's funny. If you read the title, it's called the No Fizzle build. And when I go over the stats and gear, you'll understand why that is. If you're interested in joining a guild, we have plenty of space in the guild. So, again, if you want to join a guild, want to go raiding, make sure to join Discord and yeah, get yourself added in. Alright, so let's go over and start with the stats. Well, first of all, let me just move this. I don't want to show the stats on accident. Okay, here we go. Alright. Just had to make sure I wasn't showing the stats on accident. But we'll start off. I'm not going to read like most of the stats. I'm just going to like tell you the gear and stuff like that. We have the Eternal Inspired Helm, which we talked about. Has a bunch of health, a decent pip chance, 13 resist, and 7% life accuracy, 114 critical, 26 life damage, and 15 shad rating. For the pins, you put a plus 29 outgoing mending pin. And then for the sword pins, like, you can put whatever you want for like the sword pins. It doesn't really matter. I guess whatever you want to, I guess, dual school with, or, you know, get criticals with. But, you know, you can put whatever you want for that. And then for the robe, we're bringing back the spooky carnival suit. Yes, I know. Now, again, this robe is pretty awesome. And I was trying to use the dragoon robe for y'all because I wanted to try and make, I guess, like a budget build in the previous build. However, you guys are talking about accuracy and stuff like that. And of course, the spooky robe is, again, probably one of like the best robes that you can get regarding like tanking, because the stats for it are absolutely insane. So maybe you'll get lucky and win it in a giveaway, or, you know, maybe you can ask for it as a Christmas gift. I just highly recommend this robe. Right now, the stats. 1,318 health, 7% pip chance, 7% accuracy. Now, this is universal accuracy, which is pretty good. 21 resist, which is really good. And then 20 outgoing, which is also really good. And again, this is just a really good robe. You get 116 critical block rating and 17 shad rating. And then it comes with these two cards that you can get in your deck. It's called Kiss of Death. And it's basically a death spell, but, you know, it doesn't really matter. It takes 6 pips. You know, you have Arc Mastery, so you can make your school pips into death pips, and you basically take 1,000 moon damage and give everybody 750 health. So yeah, pretty cool stuff. It's a really powerful heal. If you have a lot of outgoing, it is a very powerful heal, and especially if you critical and all that fun stuff. It's a really good heal. Highly recommend it. Now, going on from the boots, same thing. The eternal, you know, inspired boots. A lot of health, some pip chance, good resist, good critical block, 5% life accuracy, and 90 critical rating, and 12 shad rating. And of course, for the shield pin, you want to put an outgoing there. Unless you need like extra resist, you could put like a fire resist pin in there, or whatever resist pin that you have available. But, you know, quite frankly, you should put like outgoing in it. For the power pin, you could put a accuracy of whatever secondary school that you want. I like to use myth spells, so I just put a 6% myth. But again, when it comes to the pins in these builds, you can use whatever you want, whatever that suits your own playstyle. But I do highly recommend the mending pins, because the mending pins are really good. And then for the wand, we're still taking the Arcane Smith's Hammer. This is a really good wand to have. If you don't have it, you can always go for the Sword of Kings, which is also, you can get that from Avalon as a life wizard. It's kind of an old one, but it's definitely still good. It has, I think, a base of 25% outgoing, last I remember. You can also try to go for the Emerald Cayman Scepter in case you just need a little bit more critical. This one's also a pretty good wand too. There's a lot of outgoing wands there. But if you have one that has a square socket like the Arcane Smith's Hammer, then yeah, it definitely comes in clutch. So make sure to check that out. And then, oh, I'll read the stats too. A lot of pip conversion, right, which is really going to come in handy. 135 a critical block, 13% outgoing, and then for the square sockets, you know, you can put whatever you want. You can put more outgoing, or you can put a health. So if you're trying to go for like a health build, then that might be a good, you know, wand to have. There's a lot of wands that have double square sockets. It doesn't really have to have an outgoing stat. Like I said, you can make whatever build works for you, and as long as you stay alive, that's all that matters. I don't know how much health you would really need, but you should be fine. And then over here we got the Void's Lively Athame. Again, you can get this from the Dragonspire raid. It's a nice Athame. There's a lot of Athames that you can use. You don't have to just use this one. For the tier socket, I have a Feint. And then for the 2 circles, those are just outgoing, so more outgoing. It also comes with 19% pip chance and, you know, a ton of health. 108 critical block. The new Athame, though, is very interesting. It actually has a bottom square socket, and that's from the new Fanciful Kai Horde pack, which is pretty interesting. But it wouldn't really work for this build, I don't think, because for our triangle socket, we have a plus 16% life accuracy, because you guys were talking about, oh, we should put some life accuracy in them jewels. So now we did. We put a plus 16% on that triangle socket, and sadly I had to shatter my precious sanctuary jade. But don't worry, I'll farm for it again, but it's all good. So for the amulet, we still got the Vibrant Archival Amphil, pretty much the same stats as last time. It comes with a lot of pip conversion and decent health, and of course 10 resist, which is really good for any amulet. And of course for a square socket, you can put an outgoing or health. It doesn't really matter. You can do whatever you want. And then for the triangle socket, because this amulet has a triangle socket, we put another plus 16% life accuracy. With that, it also comes with Brace, which is a minus 22 damage. It also comes with Spirit Blade. So, yeah, it comes with some pretty good spells, and yeah, it's a pretty solid amulet. If you do have the Housing Gauntlet, you can always add me as a friend, and you can just run it yourself and, you know, farm it that way. And you just gotta get the reagents for it and then just craft it. If you get, you know, lucky, you could get it as a drop, but yeah, you just craft it. And then for the ring, we got Stone of the Other Side. Of course, you can get this anywhere in Avalon through various bosses. It is a very good ring, if I didn't say ring already. Yeah, this is a pretty solid ring. I highly recommend this ring. And I think, honestly, I think a lot of people already have this ring. Like, you should definitely check out, like, your bank or backpack. Especially if you are questing in Avalon, you should probably see it pop up eventually. No, the Ring of the Dying Star. No, stop. Okay, stop. If you needed more health, of course you can go for something else, like maybe the Inspired Aeon Ring, or if you just want to go for like anything else, like Lively Nightmare Ring. But notice that some of the other rings don't have the outgoing stat like the Stone of the Other Side do. So even though this is kind of like obviously an outdated ring, of course it's level 78 or level 170. It's almost like 100 levels above it. It's still a very good ring to have outgoing. So again, highly recommend it. Now for the pet, you guys weren't too crazy about the Maycast Pigsy pet, because you know Maycasts are kind of finicky. Sometimes the Maycast will happen, sometimes they just never will happen. So we just got a stat pet, which you can make a stat pet for any type of pet variant. I just have it for the Dryad because of course the Life Dryad or any of the other Dryads have the Hammer Dryad spell, which again is like one of the most crazy, and I mean crazy, whatchamacallit, just crazy spells that you can cast. So again, highly recommend it. Now for the stats, we have Spell Proof, Spell Defy, and we also have Healer, Medic, and then that plus 5% pip chance, which is going to help us maintain our 100% pip, you know, accuracy or whatever you want to call it. So we will never ever get any failed pips. And then for the bottom socket, I couldn't really figure out much to use, so we're going to put a plus 9% life accuracy. So more life accuracy. So you're probably noticing something going on with this build. But yeah, this accuracy jewel could actually go up to 10 or 14 depending on the certain pet sub-talents that you have. But yeah, Life Sniper. So more accuracy. Now this is set to ultra, so you can honestly put like whatever jewel you wanted in there, but yeah, we're just gonna leave Maycast out of it. Like, we're kind of done with Maycast. Then for the mount, we have another accuracy boosting gear. This is the plus 2% crystal unicorn permanent mount, which I believe you can get from, the crystal jewel crafter bundle. I'll leave it in the comments as per usual. But yeah, this is a pretty nice mount to have, just more accuracy in case you need a lot more accuracy. But yeah, there you go. And then for the deck, we're actually going back in time because you guys mentioned that the Darkmoor decks were really good, in which case they are. The Darkmoor decks are really, really versatile, and a lot of people should definitely farm. Darkmoor just had like the best gear overall. Like, can we admit that? Like, Darkmoor in its prime, like when Darkmoor came out, that like had the gear. Like you had to have Darkmoor gear, right? And so that's what we have. We have Tatiana's Deck of Salvation. The max spells that you can have is 64 as usual. The max copies of other spells are 7, and then the max life copies that you can have in your deck is 10, which is absolutely insane. Your sideboard is set to 40, which is actually a lot. Whatchamacallit, plus 60 health. And then, you know, the health is a little, like, rough because, again, this is older gear. And then plus 18 critical. But this substat has always interested me. It's probably one of my favorite decks. But it comes with a plus 2 shadow resist, which is really good. I highly recommend it. And, of course, that 1+1 starting pip. And then we put another plus 16% life accuracy jewel on this deck. So if you're ever free, or if you have spare time, or, you know, if you're just bored, I highly recommend to check out the Darkmoor decks, because even though they are, you know, old and, you know, low level, they are still just a fun deck to use. So now, without further ado, we have the main part. I'm not sure if I'll even make, like, I guess I'll put, like, the timestamp as, like, the gear and then the overall stats, but here we go for the overall stats of this build. You're gonna laugh when you see this. This is gonna be so funny. Okay, so 73 life damage and 19 death damage. Doesn't really matter. We're not really going for damage. I would have to say 73 is pretty decent, but we're not really going to be doing any damage with this build. The resist is set for 74 universal and then 76 for shadow, which is really nice in case you're going up against like a shadow boss or a shadow mob. Definitely comes in handy. Now the accuracy is where we get to the very funny stuff, and this is great. So universal accuracy can be up to 9%, with our myth being at 15%, while our life accuracy is set to 78% accuracy. I'll say it again, 78%. Like, it's the reason why it's called the no fizzle build, for a reason. Like, that's the reason. And you don't need that much accuracy, but at the same time, I've been using this set a little bit. I kind of like it. I'm not even gonna lie. It really does feel good not to fizzle. The critical rating is set for 222, and, you know, again, you can set that for whatever other classes you want. You know, split them up or do it for a secondary school. Probably put more critical on death, since we do have that Kiss of Death spell. You probably want to try and get a critical with that spell. Our block rating is set for 731. Our armor piercing is set for 6, and some other dual scoring stats like 9 or 6. You know, it doesn't really matter. We're not really going for armor piercing. No stun resistance, no incoming healing, but outgoing healing is set for 203, which is pretty awesome, which is actually a slight upgrade to a previous build. Of course, you can go for more accuracy if you were to swap the amulet. Of course, you would have to get rid of that triangle socket and stuff like that. Again, you can, I think we did that in our other build, like, you can get up to 230 outgoing. You probably get way more than that if you really wanted to push the limits. I don't really think you need like above a 200. I think you could definitely kind of like sacrifice a little bit of outgoing with some other stats. And then over here, pip conversion is set to 834, which is pretty nice. And then our power pips are set to 100%. And then our shadow pip rating is set for 129. And then our arc mastery rating is at the base of 136. And that, my friends, is basically the overall stats. And let me show you the spell deck. As the spell decks, you can do whatever you want. I can just show you how insane this spell deck can be. Now remember, we're using the Darkmoor deck, so you can put like 10 life copies in your deck. So if you wanted to, you can just put in 10 rebirths. Like, I'm not gonna stop you. Go ahead, do it. Hey, man, do whatever you want to do, man. If you want to spam Wings of Fate, you can do that too. I'm not going to stop you. But what I really like about this deck is that you actually get access to more spells, and you can basically put, like, more enchants. So, for example, Primordial, put more of that, put more Radicals in it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just spam it to the brim with life spells. Spree Swarm. You want to do 10 unicorns in your deck? I'm not going to stop you, man. It's your life, man. You want to just spam absorb shields, man? I got you. Obviously, this is the best deck setup you are going to need. This is going to win you every single raid. This is going to win you every single PvP match. This is going to, like, literally change your life. Just spam. Like, that right there, 10 out of 10. I'm joking, by the way. I'm literally joking, if you haven't told. But anyway, we also have Feint, which is also a good spell to have as a tier jewel. And then you also have a Balance Blade, again, which is also kind of helpful. You got some wand hits here and there, and of course a Spirit Blade in case you're playing with a Spirit Blade person or, like, you know, a Spirit School. We have a Life Blade if you're playing with a Life Wizard. You know, there's a bunch of, like, spells that we have. And another cool thing about this deck is that we actually have a lot more treasure card spaces, which is pretty nice. So again, you could pretty much put whatever you want in your deck, which is really nice. And that's the thing about the Darkmoor deck, which was mentioned in the comments, is that it has just a good space capacity for, like, your spells, instead of just being limited to maybe like 6 or 5 or whatever it is, you know. Now, of course, our Pigsy is still going to be at 4 just because we have bottom tier Pigsy. If you, and like I said, it's really up to your preference of playstyle whenever it comes to the Spellements. I just really like using the bottom path of Pigsy lately, but of course you might just want to go up to the top. And then if you were to do the top, you can put in 10 Pigsies in your deck, right? You basically just spam at Pigsy, right? It probably might even be better to go for the top path either way, just because you can just spam it over and over and over again, you know? So, yeah, you don't even have to worry about the Make Has Pigsy jewel. You can just literally spam it. So, again, that's all up to your preference. Honestly, I might actually get rid of bottom path. Like, I don't know. You know, I like to flip-flop a lot with this game, but I don't know. Oh, it's still free spell reset. Okay. But, again, it's really up to your playstyle. I don't know. Yeah, you know, I'm just going to try top. You know what? I'm going to try top for a little bit. I'm going to be a top. I can say that proudly. I'm going to be a top. And we'll see what happens. But again, like I said, some of the life spellments are actually kind of like bad, like really bad. Like Rebirth, for example, I just do not like. I tried the bottom path of Rebirth. I don't like how you can't enchant the divide spells at all. I do not like that at all. At least for the life spells like Rebirth, you cannot enchant it. So if you're filling up your deck with enchants and you have Rebirth as one of the spells and you can't enchant it, well, you're going to have to discard one of your spells, especially if you deck fail or if you just have really bad luck. So, you know, I don't know. You know, some of the spells are pretty decent in certain situations. The bottom, I do like the utility of the bottom path. Like, you know, it removes a trap and place like a blade on an ally. Like, that's cool. And a heal overtime. Like, that's cool. But again, it's like you're limited on the deck space because you can only put in 4 if you were to do that bottom path. And then also, you know, you want to kind of use it if you have traps on someone. If you don't have traps on someone, then you're practically just like doing an AoE heal, right? And that's the thing. That's kind of like one of the reasons why I did the bottom path of Pigsy, or I would just use a Spree Swarm, because I don't think I really need that many heal over times, you know? It's kind of like a whole conflict between heal over times and then burst healings, you know? And again, it's all up to your preference, you know? Whatever is going to keep your teammates alive, you know, it is, again, regenerate, you know, bottom path, top path, it doesn't matter. You can do whatever. You can, however, enchant the bottom path of regenerate, which is nice. You can also enchant the bottom path for Pigsy, which is also nice. So that's why I think I was doing the bottom path so much. But for Rebirth and Spree Swarm, I can't recommend it. Especially Spree Swarm, don't like it. But for the other spells, there are a lot of really cool spells out there. Maybe you want to just play a, what was it? Oh, what are they called? And like Aegis, or not Aegis, Absorb Shield, right? You have Grendel's Amends, which has a bottom path, which is pretty cool. You basically get 2 525 Absorb Shields, which is really nice. And if you're an Ice Wizard, there actually is another alternative to that. You have Celestial Intervention, which even Celestial Intervention is a way better heal, in my opinion, than the bottom path of Rebirth. I don't know, you know? But going to the bottom path, it's really interesting. Because right there at tier 1, you get a protected 935 absorb shield. So I've been trying to farm some Celestial Intervention Spellements to try and get that. And kind of like, you know, I guess dual school in a sense. But yeah, there's a lot of spells out there that you can use. You don't have to just use life spells. There are a ton of spells that you can use. You just gotta keep farming tons of spellments for your life and stuff like that. But yeah, that's pretty much gonna wrap it up for the build. Just a bunch, and I mean a bunch of deck size, and of course the whatchamacallit, the accuracy being one of the biggest parts. But again, it's really all up to your preference. As long as you keep your teammates alive, it doesn't really matter what heal build you go with. As long as you're staying with your team and cooperating and not being toxic, then you should be fine. But let me know what you guys think about this entire build. Leave any more comments, and maybe I'll make yet again another build. But until then, my name is Richard Unicorn Caller, and I will see you guys later. Peace out and have a wonderful day.